Guramagat, and thank you, Fergal and Anya and Caroline, for being here with us today and for the work that you and all are doing in the Department on Housing for All. I think any independent analysis will conclude that Housing for All is the most comprehensive housing plan in the history of the state, and it's the greatest resourced, and with very significant funding and very significant legislative changes backing it up. The commitment to eliminate homelessness by 2030, to prioritise social housing, very important. And I suppose in my own constituency in Dublin Central, the new social housing, first social housing we've seen in a decade, on Dominic Street and North King Street and Ellis Court, and actually Ellis Court speaks to as well the reusing of existing built structures. So the priority on not just new builds, but also, I suppose, the fastest and most sustainable way of increasing our housing stock using the vacant properties. So hugely supportive and hugely welcoming of it. I suppose when we talk about housing, though, and I come at it from a city perspective, the pipeline, I look at Dublin City Council's pipeline of housing, and they've got somewhere in the region of 15,000 homes under development, construction, design and completion, and that's really welcome. It's the biggest housing programme that Dublin City Council has undertaken in decades, certainly, and they're obviously being resourced to deliver that. And it's great to see it coming on stream. It really is great to see in the city for the first time in decades now, new homes, permanent homes. I suppose where I want to focus my first line of questioning, though, is on the delivery of affordable housing in the city. You know, it's easily recognised that Dublin is the part of the country with the highest demand for housing. Dublin City Council and other providers will say it is the most challenging space to try and build new homes. AHBs, private developers, local authority, they will all say that the sites in the city are more complex, more costly as a consequence. And we all know that with all of the new bills, the cost of construction inflation has driven the price of housing up in the city, so that we're on a par now with international cities. So the need for affordable housing, I think, can't be greater in any other part of the country than Dublin City. And I suppose what I'd like to ask you first is what action the department is taking to ensure that a priority has been given to the delivery of affordable housing in the city. We passed, I appreciate, before the passing of the Affordable Housing Bill in 2021, we hadn't got any form of affordable housing. Now, legislatively, since July of 21, we've got both affordable purchase, but also the affordable cost rental for the first time. But it feels like it's slow. It feels like the delivery in the city is slow. So I suppose my first question is, what is the department doing to address that and to accelerate the delivery of affordable housing in Dublin City? And whichever of you.
Thanks very much, Senator. I think you're right. DCC has proven to be complex in terms of delivery of affordable housing for the reasons that you've set out largely. What I will say is that over the past year, what we've seen is a development of a very good working relationship with DCC, with the people who are delivering housing there, additional resources being provided, of course, into the Housing Department to work on that. And what we are seeing is a level of ambition coming forward to deliver the affordable housing there. Their Housing Delivery Action Plan set out ambition to deliver 2,000 units out to 2026. And we are seeing mixed tenure sites coming forward that will do that delivery for us, in addition to social housing delivery. We have the likes of O'Devany Gardens, Emmett Road, Oscar Traynor Road, Cherry Orchard, Balbutchard, Sillogue. Those are all coming forward, but it does take time, and it's because they're big, complex, mixed tenure sites. It's exactly what we'd like to see, but it does take much more time than, say, bringing forward maybe advanced purchase sites that we might be able to do elsewhere. What I would say is LDA delivery then in St. Teresa's has been worked very well. That's a good relationship developing between DCC and the LDA. Cromcastle as well coming forward with the LDA. You can see sites being developed for affordable housing. What we'd like to do is try to accelerate that, so we're working with DCC to see if there's anything the department can do or the housing agency can do, and obviously if there's measures that we can take to assist, we will. At the moment what we're doing is helping them on their modelling and obviously proceeding with any applications with all due haste. So over the longer term we can certainly see the pipeline developing in Dublin City. Maybe what's more difficult is for the AHBs to provide cost rental housing in Dublin City. The overall cost of developing the housing is problematic for them. Again, we're working on that through a review of the current cost rental equity loan to see if we can tailor that a little bit better to give them a little bit more space to provide in Dublin cities. We'd like to see the AHBs doing a bit more in that area. So we're keen to see if we can get something coming through on that in the next year. So we would hope, we know that Dublin City Council has the hole in the wall in Clongriffin, that's coming through as an AHB funded an AHB CREL loan funded cost rental. So we're delighted to see those units coming through, and that'll be in 2024. That'll be probably our first cost rental in Dublin City with the AHBs. So we'll keep that momentum going and keep working with them on that.
And does the department see any scope for increasing, and that's all great and it's all very welcome. I suppose we're coming out of a decade of undersupply of actual homes in the city, okay, and accepting that the greatest need is here in the city. The vacancy, the Croí Cónaithe, the fact that that grant has been made available in the city is very welcome, but that's very much dependent on owner-occupiers and individuals. So it will deliver some homes. And the tenant in situ is obviously really going to help as well for the first time actually make affordable homes available for renters. But what about the adaptive reuse? Dublin City Council has established a department, so a great initiative from them, to basically look at vacant commercial properties and reuse those, repurpose them. Tua have a great example out in Park West. There's some other smaller scale examples. It strikes me though that in the city, post-COVID, vacancy in commercial buildings, that City Council should be further resourced to scale up and try to take advantage on a cost rental basis of those vacant properties. Is that something the department can support or is supporting?
Yeah, it's an area that we've been interested in. We've been talking about it for a while now, and obviously there's an application in for European funding for a project on adaptive reuse. So I think DCC is involved in that along with Cork. And that's an interesting area to try to mirror some of what's happening at European level in terms of the new Bauhaus. So making that adaptive reuse a reality. We also have URDF funding coming forward, 150 million under the URDF, which is available to local authorities for vacancy and dereliction projects specifically in that area. So we'd like to see what local authorities can do in that space. And we're looking fairly actively at adaptive reuse as one of the ways that we want to see properties coming back in that maybe weren't residential before. And obviously the vacant homes grant is actually, the vacant property grant is for both residential use, but also maybe old pubs and properties like that can be readapted and brought forward as well. So we're open to any of those areas. It's very important in Housing for All. There's a whole chapter dedicated to making sure we do have proper reuse of existing buildings. So it's certainly part of the matrix of what we're looking at, yes.
Okay, Cormac.
Thank you, Senator Fitzpatrick.